Right, part 2, episode 13. Let's go, let's do it. I'm Dom the musician, my name's Dom, I'm a musician. Here's my degree. In this series I'm exploring the music of modern Doctor Who Series 1 and what makes it so fantastic. I've been going through in roughly chronological order and talking about some of my favourite themes. Now I will be using some musical jargon, but I've provided a glossary of terms which you can find down in the description. So even if you don't know anything about musical theory, you hopefully won't get lost. Let's go! So at the start of the episode, we get straight in there after the opening credits with a brand new action theme called Finding Jackie. Now, according to the album liner notes, it's called that because of its use in the Series 2 episode Love and Monsters, in the scene where Elton sets out to find Jackie Tyler. I do think it's quite funny that a Dalek invasion of Earth has the same music cue as a guy poking around a council estate. The chords are C minor and A flat minor, just a semitone up from the B minor, G minor of the Dalek theme. So you could argue that this is an extension or a rearrangement of that piece of music. And with these chromatic rising and falling fifths, it segues seamlessly into I'm Coming to Get You.
The extrapolator's working. We've got a fully functional force field. Try saying that when you're drunk. And for my next trick,
the track that closed out the previous episode. We're very much picking up where we left off here.
Do you know what they call me in the ancient legends of the Dalek homeworld? The oncoming storm.
Now this is kind of interesting. The Doctor's the focus here, but you hear a version of the Dalek theme with its C minor, A flat minor chords. It's like, for once, the music's from their perspective. It's portraying that fear and awe that we normally feel for them, but that they feel for the Doctor. If the Daleks are our boogeymen, then the Doctor is theirs. It's an interesting role reversal.
What do monsters have nightmares about?
This is the Emperor of the Daleks.
You destroyed us, Doctor. The Dalek race died in your inferno.
I could watch a whole series of the Ninth Doctor just having various harrowing tete-a-tetes with various Daleks. We start with the standard bass drone on G, but it's not long before you get some of those haunting choir samples again.
I'm crippled, but alive.
I get it.
Do not interrupt! The prisoners, the refugees, the dispossessed, they all came to us.
Now this bit links back to the controller scene from Bad Wolf, with the atonal choir stabs and sickening pitch shifts, reminding us that it was the game station's inhumane practices that allowed this situation to happen. What a fade. It's just so impactful to fade the music out so that you get the full force of the exterminate. It's sort of an inverse of the disintegration scene where the dialogue faded out to make the music more impactful. Solid mixing.
Turn everything up. All transmitters, full power, wide open, now, do it!
what does this do?
Stops the Daleks from transmitting on board.
I just call this the action theme, and there's no better name for it. I mean, it wasn't on the soundtrack album, it should have been. It's just the action theme, only used in the first 2 series. It came up in Dalek when some soldiers were running around, and again in the Doctor Dances when the Doctor, Rose and Jack went to the crash site. I actually remember going to the Doctor Who exhibition when I was 12. They had like a different room for each episode from Series 1. I was in the World War III room, but I could hear this track playing from the next room and I thought, oh, that's the Dalek room. Oh, I've got to get over there.
Linda, what are you still doing on board? I told you to evacuate everyone.
So this is the most developed the theme gets. It does this cool dotted rhythm that goes...
Oh my god, the fleet is moving.
and ends in this big... when you see the Dalek ships. And then that segues perfectly into New Adventures, the theme first heard during the earthquake scene in Boomtown. The next time you see the ships, they're accompanied by this drum and bass beat. Murray, once again, seemingly channeling the Ratchet and Clank soundtrack. Such a shot of adrenaline this part of the episode, I love it. So in this scene, we hear the Father's Day theme once again.
It could take us away. We could leave. Let history take its course. We go to Marbella in 1989.
And you can watch my Father's Day video for a deeper dive into that. It actually comes back 2 times in this episode, the latter being when Rose talks to Jackie about Pete.
Doctor took me back in time and I met Dad.
But I always think it's more interesting when a composer uses a theme outside of its original context. You can watch that later scene and think, well, obviously they're talking about Pete, so they're going to use the Father's Day music. But when Murray uses it here, it just encourages you to think a little bit more deeply about what the music means on a thematic level. That sounds really pretentious, so rather than talk about it further, I'm just going to recommend Tantacrul's excellent video essay about the music of the Star Wars sequels, link in the description. I said in the Father's Day video that this theme represents the impossible dream of living in a divergent timeline, and I think that applies here too. In the same way that Rose could never have a life with her father, the Doctor accepts in this scene that he can never run from a fight. The piano melody is sad, but it's also bittersweet. You can tell in this moment that the Doctor's enjoying imagining what it would be like to run away, even though he knows he would never actually do that. Ugh, this next bit is just cruel.
Rose Tyler, you're a genius! We can do it!
Hooray, there's hope, they're gonna save the day! No, you could call this false hope, but really the signs are all there that this is not a solution. We've really just modulated from one minor key to another. Even in Father's Day, the entry of the flute arpeggio didn't herald a solution where everyone got out alive. It was just the bittersweet realisation that Pete could save the day if he only sacrificed himself. And here it's even worse because the Doctor doesn't believe he can save the day, he just thinks he can save Rose. And I think it's sweet that that's enough for him. That is, in some ways, a victory. And it's perfectly timed, this final imperfect cadence. It's followed once again by deafening silence, and all of a sudden, we're in a different tempo and key.
Doctor, what are you doing? Can I take my hand off? It's moving.
Rose has well and truly had the rug pulled out from under her. So this next cue, as it appears on the album, is called Hologram, even though when the hologram actually appears, the music segues into Rose's theme. In the liner notes, Murray writes, "This was the original score for the hologram scene. It was rejigged so that it led to the regeneration at the end. Producers sometimes move in mysterious ways." So let's do a little experiment. I'm going to play the following scene, but with the original track, the way that Murray intended it.
This is Emergency Program 1.
Rose, now listen. This is important. If this message is activated, then it can only mean one thing. We must be in danger, and I mean fatal. I'm dead, or about to die any second with no chance of escape. No! And that's okay. Hope it's a good death. But I promise to look after you, and that's what I'm doing. The TARDIS is taking you home. I won't let you. And I bet you're fussing and moaning now. Typical. But hold on, and listen just a bit more. The TARDIS can never return for me. Emergency Program 1 means I'm facing an enemy that should never get its hands on this machine. So this is what you should do. Let the TARDIS die. Just let this old box gather dust. No one can open it, no one will even notice it. Let it become a strange little thing standing on a street corner. And over the years, the world will move on and the box will be buried. And if you want to remember me, then you can do one thing. That's all, one thing. Have a good life. Do that for me, Rose. Have a fantastic life. You can't do this to me. So you can't. Take me back! Take me back! I mean, yeah, it syncs up perfectly. That being said, I think I side with the producers on this one. It may be that I just can't imagine this scene without Rose's theme, but for me, the hologram track is just a bit too optimistic, which makes sense from the Doctor's perspective. He's obviously happy he's saved Rose, but Rose is our point of view character in this scene, and I think her theme is a lot more illustrative of what she would actually be feeling. So there you go, I know more than Murray Gold. I am the best. So let's hear how the music actually goes.
The TARDIS can never return for me. Emergency Program 1 means I'm facing an enemy that should never get their hands on this machine.
Yeah, I just think this fits better. The high-pitched piano and waltz rhythm make it sound a little bit like a music box playing a lullaby, which is nice because it's sort of like the Doctor's trying to reassure her. And just a mixing note, when you combine the light piano and soft violins with the tinny, crackly sound of the Doctor's dialogue, it leaves a lot of space in the lower frequencies, meaning there's a lot more contrast when Rose has a line, which just emphasises how alone she must feel. And so it follows that when the hologram recording comes through clearer with the full range of the Doctor's voice.
Do that for me, Rose. Have a fantastic life.
That's when the texture fills out, you know, the cellos, percussion, etc. all come in and the music really takes off. This is really well timed. And of course, that's when the tonality gets a little bit meaner. You get a lot more notes from the D minor scale when Rose realises where she's been sent. I think it was the YouTuber JackWolf who said that this moment would have been better without music. And I can see how that would be really effective if all you heard when she opened the door was just the wind and maybe some distant traffic. But what we got was still great, and I think there are enough moments in the episode where the music cuts to deafening silence that I think you wouldn't want it to be overdone. I mean, for example, look at the next 3 times it cuts from the future to the present.
And it's gone up market. All the TARDIS needs to do.
So anyway, you get the best of both worlds this way. Anyway, this video is getting really long, so I'm just going to skip ahead. So Rose works out that if she can open up the heart of the TARDIS, she can use it to get back to the future. And the first time she and Mickey try and open it, you hear the I'm Coming to Get You theme. It's a great parallel because the first 2 times you heard the theme, the Doctor was coming to rescue her, and now she's coming to rescue him. Sadly though, their first attempt isn't successful, which I think is why the music never makes it back to the tonic key of B. Originally, the melody goes... But this time, it's like it gets stuck on this D chord. Like it can't escape. Can't quite make it all the way up to the B. Skipping forward though, they have more luck on their second attempt. And now we get the full intro with the big brass... Bwah. I like that rather than jumping into it like before, you get the full theme this time. It's the last time we'll hear it in the entire show, so Murray's really making it count. And it actually plays through twice. The first time accompanying the scene of Mickey in the truck. It builds to this climax as Mickey finally pulls open the TARDIS console. But it's not over yet. There's a flippin' key change, and then the music starts all over again, this time a tone higher. And this is when we go back and see what's happening back in the future. So Jack's backed into a corner, the Doctor's desperately scrambling to finish the Delta Wave, and Rose is hurtling through time. Remember what I said about the Bad Wolf cliffhanger being like a musical? Well, this would be the bit in the musical where everyone's all singing at once. Everything's coming to a head, and the music just captures the chaos of that. Okay, let's just calm down. Let's just breathe for a minute.
Coward. Any day.
Oh, that's nice and relaxing. It's like getting into a warm bath or just having a lovely slash. You get this big ambient D major chord in the strings, which later replaced by synths, with these little synth notes going.
And what about me?
With that C natural, it sounds quite modal, quite Eastern. But with the delay and the panning, maybe it's a bit more like some psychedelic Beatles record from the 60s. It's interesting, considering the Daleks are about to take over the universe, that the music sounds so calm. But of course, what's more important to the story here is that the Doctor has decided not to be a killer. And I think Murray's trying to convey that sense of relief that he feels. And the trippiness, I think we can attribute to just how strange it must all feel for the Doctor. He's been through all sorts, but the music's generally been in this orchestral world. Now he's made the most important decision of his current life, and it's like he's lightheaded. That way you get when you finally pluck up the courage to do something brave. And then Rose shows up, and we hear the Seeking the Doctor theme, first heard in episode 1. This is a prime example of how Parting of the Ways pays off character arcs. When we first heard this cue, it presented the Doctor, from Rose's perspective, as this utterly alien, frightening, mysterious figure. But by the end of the series, the tables have turned. Rose's travels with the Doctor have changed her so much that she was prepared to mind meld with the time vortex, turning her into this omnipotent entity stronger even than the Doctor. Now we see Rose, or the Bad Wolf, from the Doctor's perspective, and she's just as terrifying. You know what else is terrifying? Sloppy sound editing.
I am the bad wolf. I create myself.
Did you hear that? It randomly started going into the piano arpeggio from Hologram, before going, oops, never mind. Look, I'll play it again.
I create myself.
Shameful. Shameful.
I scatter them in time and space. A message to leave myself here.
This cue shares DNA with both the Dalek theme and I'm Coming to Get You, with its chaotic chromaticism and rocking back and forth between B and G chords. Only with the Dalek theme they were both minor, and now they're both major.
Rose, you've got to stop this. You've got to stop this now.
In a standard scale, you'd expect to get B minor and G major, so it sounds just as weird to hear both major chords as it would be to hear both minor chords. It's like this theme and the Dalek theme are two equally weird sides of the same coin, each just as frightening and alien, but now that weird alien power is being used against the Daleks. And as with I'm Coming to Get You, there's barely a moment without chromatic movement in the melody or harmony. Like here, where the fifth note of the B-flat minor chord moves up a tone with every bar. This is actually a direct quote from the Dalek theme, which is ironic as it's played over a shot of those same ships being destroyed. I think Murray uses chromaticism here to create a sense of mystery around the Bad Wolf. When you use a major or minor scale, be it happy or sad, good or evil, that's still something you can comprehend. Chromaticism, on the other hand, just sounds like madness, and without any sort of moral alignment, which is somehow scarier than something being evil. This is where it really hits perfection for me. All these suspensions.
Everything must come to dust. All things. Everything dies.
You got this new key of D major, but then the contrasting B flat major with the major seventh on it, which falls to the sixth. And then you're back to D, but this time with a flat sixth, which falls back to the perfect fifth. Then you get the same chord sequence, this time in F major. And there are some really tasty chord inversions, all in service of this descending bass line. The word is overused, but this truly is an epic moment. We get a bit of a tempo change here, and segue into the second half of the Hologram theme.
The power's gonna kill you and it's my fault.
Starting with this piano arpeggio reminiscent of the Father's Day flute, but this time in a major key.
All that was all that ever could be.
I don't know why, but there's something quite cheeky about this build-up. In the context of standard major tonality, this ascending line just sounds a bit like a Cockney intro. You can almost imagine it going... It's a similar energy to the Everybody Lives scene from the Doctor Dances.
Everybody lives, Rose. Just this once. Everybody lives!
The unambiguous optimism of a triumphant Ninth Doctor. It does feel a bit out of place coming from an episode with such dark music, and I'm glad it was only used twice instead of 3 times like Murray first intended. As the Doctor lays Rose down, nearly knocking over the Delta Wave and killing everyone, we hear the Doctor's theme for the final time this series, and we get this glorious B-flat major 7 chord. That's just astounding music. It feels like catharsis. And it perfectly accompanies the sound of the Doctor breathing the time vortex back into the TARDIS, because it's so much like a sigh of relief. Okay, nearly there. One more track to go.
Stay away!
Tell me what's going on.
I absorbed all the energy of the time vortex, and no one's meant to do that.
We get started with this D drone in the bass, establishing the suspense. There's this horn melody which keeps going. Which you'd think would bring us into an E major chord. But the bass just stays stubbornly on that D drone.
It's all the way of cheating death. Except
it's almost like the horns trying to get the bass's attention, going, come on, ready? We're going to go for an E major now, ready? It's like, no, you're supposed to play an E. And the bass is just going, nah, I'm fine staying on the D.
it means I'm going to change. And I'm not going to see you again.
Eventually, rather than move up to the E, the bass just drops out altogether, making room for this poignant line.
Before I go, I just want to tell you were fantastic.
It feels kind of like the Doctor's let go. He doesn't regenerate right away, but he's building to it. You know, like when you relax your bladder, but it just takes a few seconds for the pee to come out. That's normal, isn't it? That's normal.
Do you know what? So was I.
I love how the big climactic tonic chord doesn't come on the regeneration, it comes on the line, so was I. Because that's the real climax. The scene's not about him regenerating, the scene is about him declaring out loud that he finally forgives himself. That's what the episode's about, that's what the whole series is about. The regeneration's almost an afterthought. That being said... I like this build-up in the piano part. Again, the melody is reaching up towards the final cadence, but the bass is just holding on stubbornly to the previous chord until finally it relents.
Hello. Okay. New teeth. That's weird. So where was I? Oh, that's right. Barcelona.
Oh my god. We finally did it. That's Doctor Who Series 1 in the can. Wow, it's been quite a ride. I'd say see you next time, but it might be a while before I make another one of these. Take a very long time to make. Oh, like and subscribe, because I never say like and subscribe. Please, if you feel like it, I do all sorts of stuff. Covers, comment, whatever. Call me a dickhead. Anyway, I'm working on the Series 2 review, but that might take quite a while. So, yeah, maybe see you at Christmas. Until next time, remember,